I can read about prehistoric animals. Millions of years ago, dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals lived on Earth. Today, scientists keep learning more about prehistoric animals by studying fossils. Some fossils are bones that have turned to rock. Some fossils are shells. And some fossils are marks and impressions, like footprints or shell prints left by prehistoric creatures. When scientists find fossils, they clean them and number them. If they find bones, they try to fit them together to make a skeleton. Scientists divide the Earth's history into time periods. Each period has a name. When a scientist knows how old a fossil is, he knows what time period the animal lived in. The first animals lived in ancient seas. They were invertebrates. They had no backbone or spine. Jellyfish are invertebrates. They have no backbone or spine. Sometimes when prehistoric jellyfish died, they left fossil imprints in the sand. There were many tiny animals living in the ancient seas. There were sponges, snails, and shell-covered animals called trilobites. At first, the trilobites were less than an inch long. Then, after millions of years, the trilobites became larger. They grew to nearly 2 feet long. There were also giant sea scorpions that grew almost 9 feet long. These prehistoric animals looked like fish. They did have backbones, but they did not have jaws. Instead, they had holes or slits for a mouth. They ate small plants and tiny animals. Some fish-like animals had jaws. Some had armor or hard plates of bone and lived on the bottom of the ocean. Others had no armor but could swim very fast. Some early fish had skeletons made of bone. Others had skeletons made of cartilage. Cartilage is soft bone material. Even today, sharks still have skeletons made of cartilage. Some of the earliest creatures to live on land were worms and insects, like giant dragonflies. A fish, like the lobe fin, used its fins to crawl out of the water. Gradually, over millions of years, the lobe fins evolved or changed into early amphibians. Young amphibians are born and live in the water like fish. But when they are older, amphibians develop lungs and are able to breathe and live on land. Eriops was an amphibian who lived 225 million years ago. Prehistoric amphibians went through many changes. Some looked very strange. Scientists think that an animal like Simoria may have been the ancestor of the early reptiles. Reptiles are born with lungs. They do not need to be born in water. They have an outside skin made of scales or hard bony plates. Snakes, lizards, and turtles are modern reptiles. Most of the early reptiles were not very large. Some were only 1 or 2 feet long. They probably ate insects. Some had sharp, bony points or spikes on their heads and backs. Some reptiles were meat eaters who went after amphibians. Brachiosaurus was a plant eater. He was 8 feet long and had claws on his toes. He probably used his claws to dig for plants. Dimetrodon had a large jaw and very sharp teeth. He was a meat eater. He was 11 feet long and had a high 3-foot sail on his back. Different kinds of reptiles developed. Some looked like snakes with legs. Some looked like crocodiles. Some looked like lizards. And some even looked like dinosaurs. The age of dinosaurs began about 200 million years ago. There were many kinds of dinosaurs. Some walked on 2 feet. Some walked on 4 feet. Some ate meat and some ate plants. Not all reptiles that lived in the age of dinosaurs were dinosaurs. Some were reptiles that swam in the water or flew in the sky. Brachiosaurus was the heaviest of all the dinosaurs. He weighed 50 tons and was 80 feet long. Because of his heavy weight, he spent most of his time in the water. It was easier for him to move around in water than on land. Early meat-eating dinosaurs were not very large. They walked on their 2 hind legs and had short front legs. Allosaurus was big. He was over 35 feet long. He had strong legs and sharp teeth to hunt even the largest of the plant eaters. Tyrannosaurus rex was the king. He was 47 feet long and 19 feet high. He had strong hind legs with claws. He had strong jaws and teeth almost 6 inches long. He could bite through bone. No wonder plant eaters ran when they saw him. Many plant eaters found safety in the water. The duck-billed dinosaurs could swim very fast. They had webbed feet and strong tails. Some had high crests on their heads. Iguanodon had hard, pointed claws. He was 16 feet tall and 30 feet long. When he walked, he used his heavy tail to help balance himself. Some dinosaurs had armor for protection. They had bones, horns, spikes, or hard plates for protection. Triceratops had 3 horns and sharp claws. Others, like Ankylosaurus, had a plate covering and a tail like a club. Strange prehistoric reptiles filled the seas. Huge monsters hunted their enemies with strong flippers and sharp teeth. Elasmosaurus had a neck like a snake and looked like a sea serpent. He was 40 feet long. During the age of dinosaurs, new groups of animals developed. Flying reptiles like the pterodactyl and Rhamphorhynchus seemed to have huge bat wings. Pteranodon was another huge monster in the air. Then another group developed. They were the birds. Like reptiles, the first birds had teeth. but they had feathers instead of scales. As the earth and its weather changed, a new group of animals appeared. They were the mammals. In the beginning, most were small. Instead of scales, they had fur or hair. Instead of laying eggs, they gave birth to live babies. Unlike reptiles, mammals were warm-blooded. The temperature of their blood did not change with the outside weather. After the dinosaurs died off, the mammals grew larger and heavier. Some looked like tiny horses. Some had horns on their noses. Some looked like strange elephants, only smaller. Later, mammals began to look more like modern animals. They were huge mastodons with long tusks. There were huge, saber-toothed cats, almost as big as modern lions. Their teeth were 9 inches long and were like strong knives. The mammoth lived in Asia, Europe, and North America. He was over 14 feet high. Scientists know that prehistoric people hunted the mammoth. They probably used spears made of wood, stone, or bone. But prehistoric people were more than hunters. On the walls of their caves, they drew pictures of the animals they hunted. In the dawn of history, there was a new creature. There was someone who could think. There was someone who could tell a story for the world to see.